The moment snapped like a bone. It started with shouting. Middle of downtown. Early summer heat baking the pavement, people walking fast, eyes low, trying not to get involved. A teenage black girl, maybe 15, in a school uniform, backed against the stone wall of a coffee shop. Two grown men towered over her, red-faced, spitting accusations. One gripped her wrist, hard. The other held her backpack, ripping it open, scattering her books across the sidewalk. "You people always try this," a crowd formed. Nobody stepped in, except one man, Jason Statham. He stepped out of the alley behind the cafe, still wearing his work gloves and a navy blue shirt stained with grease. Just a maintenance guy, just a face in the city. But the girl saw him first, her eyes screamed louder than her voice. Jason didn't speak. He just moved. In 4 strides, he closed the distance. One man turned, Jason grabbed the wrist mid-sentence and twisted it behind his back with surgical precision. The man crumpled, groaning. The second one turned to shout, but Jason already had a foot sweeping through his stance, sending him crashing onto the pavement. "Let go of the girl," Jason growled, voice low and flat. They didn't argue. The girl stumbled back, clutching her chest, backpack still ripped. A security guard came running late, flustered. Jason stood still, calm, not gloating, just present. People filmed. Of course they did. But not one of them knew what Jason had just done, or how he knew the exact angle of that wrist lock, the fastest way to put a 200-pound man down without killing him. He didn't do it to be a hero. He did it because it needed to be done. The girl whispered something. Jason looked at her. "I said thank you." Jason nodded once. "You okay?" She tried to answer, but her voice broke. She nodded instead. He picked up her books silently, handed them to her one by one. The security guard tried to speak, but Jason gave him a look that emptied his throat before the first word. A woman in the crowd whispered, "That's Jason Statham." Another guy replied, "No way, he's just a mechanic or something." But the girl looked at him differently. She wasn't looking at a celebrity. She was looking at someone who had once stood in front of gunfire and hadn't blinked. Jason didn't wait around for applause. He turned and walked back toward the alley, gloves in hand. The girl followed 2 steps behind. Can I walk with you a bit?" she asked. He shrugged. "Sure." She hugged the books to her chest, still shaking. "They said I tried to take her wallet." "I didn't." She dropped it. "I was gonna give it back, but she just started screaming." Jason didn't say anything. They kept yelling like I was invisible, like I didn't matter. Jason finally glanced over. "You mattered enough for me to step in." The girl blinked back, tears. They turned a corner into a quieter street, away from the eyes and the whispers. Jason leaned against a railing. "You got somewhere to go?" She hesitated. "My granddad's supposed to pick me up in a few blocks. Said to meet him after the art class." Jason nodded. Then he checked the street behind them. Something didn't sit right. One of the men from earlier, the one who grabbed her, was on the phone nearby. His eyes locked with Jason's for half a second before turning away. Jason filed it. "Not forgotten." "You got a name?" The girl wiped her face. "Maya." "Maya, you want me to wait with you?" She nodded. 10 minutes passed. Jason leaned against a bus stop bench. Maya stood beside him, quieter now, more steady. Then a black SUV pulled up. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't loud. But the way it parked, angled, nose first, gave Jason a bad feeling. The window rolled down. A new man. Older, suit and tie. Civilian clothes, but the eyes, military cold. "You the one who laid hands on Mr. Braver?" he asked. Jason tilted his head. "He grabbed her. I stopped him." The man's tone sharpened. "That man has money, influence. You just made a mess you don't understand." Jason stepped closer. His voice didn't rise. "You want to come out of that car and say that again?" The man didn't. He looked past Jason at Maya. "Your grandfather's going to hear about this." Maya stepped back, startled. Jason's eyes narrowed. But then, before Jason could say anything, another vehicle pulled up, an old army green pickup. A man in full denim, gray beard, dark skin, and sunglasses stepped out, built like a boulder, calm like the ocean before a storm. Maya ran to him. "Grandpa," he wrapped her in one arm, looked her over without panic. His eyes moved to Jason, locked. Then something changed. Jason's posture shifted first. Like recognition struck and rewound the last 20 years. The older man walked up, slow. "You," he said. Jason blinked. "Camp Lejeune, 2002. You ran week 7. The man nodded once. "You were a mouthy Brit with broken ribs who never rang the bell." Jason stared. Maya looked between them. "You know him." Her grandfather's face didn't change. More than that, I made him. For a second, Jason forgot where he was. The street noise faded, his heartbeat slowed, because the man in front of him wasn't just some protective granddad. He was Commander Elijah Cross, the one they called the Iron Ghost. The SEAL instructor who once drowned Jason twice in the same week just to teach him fear meant nothing. The man whose voice still echoed in Jason's dreams, barking orders across rain-slick blacktop under the Carolina moon. And now here he stood, hugging Maya. I didn't know, Jason said quietly. She didn't say. She wouldn't, Elijah replied, voice gravel-wrapped steel. That girl doesn't trade on names, just like you didn't back then. Jason smiled faintly. Didn't work out too well for me, Elijah grunted. Did for you better than most. They sat down inside a quiet soul food spot 3 blocks away. Elijah ordered for all 3 without asking. Collards, smoked turkey, cornbread, sweet tea. Jason barely touched his food. Across from him, Maya started to relax, laughing under her breath as Elijah told stories about the trouble she used to cause in Sunday school. Jason kept half his attention on the windows. Something still buzzed in his gut. That SUV, that man. Braver, Jason finally said. The one she stood up to. Elijah leaned back slowly. You met him, Jason nodded. He's not just a man, Elijah said. He's a machine, real estate mogul. Billionaire money, private security, political donors behind him. He's been trying to tear down the block for 5 years. Didn't know Maya called him out. Jason looked over at her. Maya went quiet. I didn't want to tell you, she mumbled. I thought you'd get in trouble. He always wins. Jason looked at Elijah. She doesn't scare easy. Elijah didn't smile, but something glinted in his eyes. Neither did you. By the time they left the restaurant, dusk was crawling across the streets. Jason offered to walk them to the truck. Elijah declined. You've done more than enough. Jason didn't push it, just nodded. She's good people. She's all I've got left, Elijah replied, then paused. That means something. Jason stopped him. You know they're watching you now. Elijah tilted his head. Let him. Jason looked over his shoulder. He wasn't talking tough, he meant it. Someone was watching. Later that night, Jason parked 2 streets over, engine off, radio dark. He watched the block from shadows. A second SUV rolled past Elijah's house. Same tinted glass. Same plate format. They weren't random, they were waiting. 2 hours later, Jason slipped through the back alley near Elijah's home. Quiet. Measured. He reached the roof, crouched low. The neighborhood was still, but the movement was wrong. A man sat in a car with the dome light off, holding a phone. Jason dropped from the roof without a sound. The man didn't see it coming. Jason opened the driver's door, yanked the man halfway out, and snapped the phone from his hand. Unlocked, GPS on. Active voice link. Jason read the text thread. Girl's grandpa is home. Package not delivered. Awaiting green light. He slammed the door shut, popped the trunk, found tactical gloves, surveillance gear, a silenced sidearm. Jason stood frozen for a breath. They weren't just watching Maya, they were planning something. Back inside his truck, Jason made a decision. He dialed a number burned into memory. 17 Bravo, this is Dustman. A pause, then a voice. What do you need? Ghost's house. Tier 3 eyes on his family, he doesn't know. I'm burning the list tonight, the voice replied. You sure? Jason didn't hesitate. I owe him everything. The next morning, Jason showed up at Elijah's porch before sunrise. Coffee in one hand, a burner phone in the other. I need you to trust me, he said. Elijah opened the door slowly. That's a hell of a greeting. Jason handed him the burner. Maya can't go to school today. She goes with you back roads, no schedule. You move twice in the next 24 hours. Elijah studied him. What did you find? Jason just said. She's not the target, you are. Elijah didn't flinch. He turned, called Maya calmly, and started packing. Jason returned to the alley, midday. Heat climbing, he walked straight toward the black SUV now parked on the edge of the block. Same driver, smirking. Jason opened the door himself and got in. Nice of you to join us, the man sneered. Jason leaned in. Say my name again, the man laughed. Jason Statham. Washed-out actor or washed-up killer, Jason smiled. You missed the part that matters. Before the man could speak, Jason elbowed him once across the throat, not enough to kill, just enough to erase the smile. Jason grabbed the wheel, reversed the SUV 2 blocks down, and left him tied in his own trunk. At dusk, Jason stepped onto a rooftop overlooking the nearby courthouse. Across from him, men with earpieces were setting up a sting, cameras hidden in flower beds. Black cars marked service fleet. They weren't city, they were Braver's private unit. He pulled out a small USB, the phone he'd taken was copied. Everything was there, plans, times, names. Even Maya's school route. Jason didn't need a headline. He just needed one person who still had power and memory. And tomorrow he'd knock on her door. The gate clicked open slower than Jason expected. A camera followed him in. Not the kind for show, the kind for secrets. He entered the old estate grounds without hesitation, boots quiet on polished stone. Inside, Judge Emerson waited, once a hard-nosed military adjudicator, now a ghost in velvet slippers and bitter coffee. Jason stood tall. "This isn't about me." The judge studied him, then glanced at the USB placed gently on his desk. Jason added, "It's about the man who trained me." And his granddaughter. Emerson plugged it in. What he saw changed everything. GPS logs, voice memos, timed ops planned around Maya's school and Elijah's house, false warrants signed with a fake judge's signature, private operatives posing as marshals, and a plan titled, "Exfil, Tear Ghost." Jason didn't need to say another word. Emerson's wrinkled hand clenched the mug tighter. "This is treasonous," Jason replied. "It's Tuesday." Across the city, Elijah and Maya sat in a small roadside cabin tucked behind a gas station. Elijah taught Maya how to disassemble a radio. His hands slow, his voice calm. "I trained thousands of men," he said. "But that one," he pointed to Jason's name scribbled in a corner of a field manual. "He never blinked, not once." Maya smiled faintly, fingers adjusting a wire. "So why's he still helping us?" Elijah paused. "Because good men don't stop when it's done. They stop when it's right." That night Jason slipped into Braver's high-rise, not through the lobby, through the service hatch. 12 floors up, in the dark, gloves on, expression unreadable. He passed guards without alerting them. Lifted phones. Disabled cams. Then the main office. Braver sat inside, drinking. Jason waited for him to turn around. When he finally did, Braver smiled. "I've heard of you." Jason didn't reply. He placed a flash drive on the desk. Braver leaned forward. "You think this'll stop me?" Jason finally spoke. "No, I think this will." Then every screen in the office flickered on and displayed the live feed. Elijah in his house. Meyer at her school. Braver's men watching. Only, this time they were being watched. Jason's people had turned the surveillance back on them. A voice came over Braver's comms. "Sir, we've got movement. Wait, they're here." Jason unplugged the drive. "You've got 10 minutes to disappear, or you go down with them." Braver growled. "You're bluffing." Jason turned to leave. "Call Judge Emerson. Ask if he's bluffing too." Elijah returned home the next morning. No more suvs on the block. No more whispers. Jason stood waiting at the porch, coffee in hand. Elijah joined him silently. "She good?" Jason asked. "Better now." They sat on the porch without speaking. A peaceful silence between men who had seen too much. Then Maya came outside holding a framed photo. It was Elijah, decades younger, standing behind a line of muddy recruits. Jason was at the edge, shivering, teeth grit, eyes locked on the camera. Maya said, "I showed this to my class today." Jason raised an eyebrow. "What for?" She smiled. "To show them the only man I've seen scarier than my granddad." Jason let out half a laugh, but Elijah's face stayed calm. "I didn't make him scary, I made him steady." Jason stood. "She's going to be okay, you know." Elijah looked up. "Because of you?" Jason shook his head. "Because she's yours." They nodded once. Nothing more needed saying. Later that week, Jason returned to the alley behind the cafe. The spot where it all started. It was quiet now. No shouting, no cameras, just a clean wall and peace. He lit a cigarette, not to smoke, just to feel the heat. Then someone cleared their throat behind him. It was a young woman, clipboard in hand. "Excuse me, are you Jason Statham?" Jason turned slowly. "Depends who's asking." She smiled awkwardly. "The mayor's office. We heard what you did." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Didn't do anything." She nodded. "Exactly." She handed him an envelope. Inside, a medal. Jason stared at it. "I didn't earn this," he said. She replied softly. "No, you reminded us what it looks like."